What's up everybody, Kasabe here, and today for my logo speedrun video I thought I'd do something a bit different and combine my speedrun along with a tip video. So you can kind of see the video going on here in the background. What I'm going to do is stop the speedrun at certain points and tell you what my thought process is behind making the logo. So everybody does logos differently, but I just want to show you guys how I kind of perceive things as I'm going, what things I'm going for from one point in time to another. So what I like to do is focus in on a certain piece to start and take my circle shapes, my square shapes, triangles and curve shapes, and try and fine-tune all the details to get the logo together, whatever piece I'm doing. So to start off here with Teddy Roosevelt's hat, I realized there's going to be two different pieces that I'll have to put together. You have the brim with the little flap that's kind of pointing up with the star. That is going to be one piece in my mind, and the reason for that is you see behind the hat, behind the brim is the actual hat top itself, and the brim has to be in front of the top hat for this logo to work because it's kind of like a 3D logo. You can see that the blue outline here is in front of the top hat, so what I'm going to do is make those into two separate chunks. So I take these circle pieces, square pieces, etc., and then what I do is I look at the brim and I go, okay, which directions does this point out? Where does it curve? Where are the special points that I can look at where I have to maneuver my shapes to make it look exactly the same as it is in the logo? So you can see here on the left, it kind of starts off with, just a regular circle curve shape, but then it kind of dips down and then comes back up for that flap that comes up at the top. And then the flap itself, you can see there's a little point right at the top where there's like a little indent there. You can see like the little swish or curve thing that kind of jets in. So what I do is I take my shapes and I think, okay, which shape is best going to make this look as it is in the logo. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 shapes to make it look that way, but that's the beauty of the logo editor, is you get 1,000 layers to work with. So what I've done here is I have taken the top hat part and the brim part and made them into 2 separate groups. What you can do is just hit up on the D-pad to select each layer and kind of form it into a group. So what I did is I say, okay, here's the front piece, here's the back piece, and then really simple, you just group those together and then copy paste it. Get the, if you want to do an outline, you do the outline first, and then what you do is you copy it, do whatever color you want to do next. So I did the blue for the outline and then the tan for the actual hat. You just group them together, copy paste it, kind of resize it so it fits the outline. Might have to move some shapes around as I'm doing here. And then since I have these 2 shapes together here, what I can do is there's that little red stripe that goes around the hat. So that is behind the brim. I can just fit it in there without having to worry about other shapes getting in the way. The next part is tricky, and some people might do it differently, but you can kind of see that the hat has to fit on top of Teddy Roosevelt himself. So for this, it involves a little bit of manipulation to kind of get that 3D effect where you have the head like both in front of the hat and back of the hat, so it kind of wraps around in a circle shape. So for this, some new tools that I'm using recently is the mask tool. So what I did is I put it in front of the brim and then used the mask tool to kind of clean out that shape. Just put a shape there and made it invisible, and it takes out that chunk. From there, the face is just a really nice pear shape, and then all you have to do is just kind of readjust the chin at the bottom. Later on in the speedrun, I'll actually make it a bit smaller, because right now it looks big to me, but I didn't realize that during the actual speedrun itself until later on. And the nice thing about logo runs is you can focus in a piece at a time, so for some people they might get confused and go, okay, which part should I focus in on first with this Teddy Roosevelt? I usually work from the top on down. So you can see here I did the glasses. That's just really simple. Make one part of the glasses and then just kind of copy paste it on the other, save some time. I'm doing the same thing with the ears here. Just kind of just circle, put it behind the head, and then just add the couple shapes to fill out the earlobe. The mustache is, well, you're going to see I'm struggling here a little bit, but what you can do is if a shape doesn't exactly fit what you're looking for, that's where the mask tool can also come into effect. So you can see here I used the curve tool and just kind of shaved it off right at the bottom of the mustache, fill out the nose. What I'm doing with the mouth here coming up is it's kind of a trapezoid shape, but it's a rounded trapezoid. So what I do is I use the first trapezoid shape I see, and I kind of round it out with those half dome shapes. Some other things you can do to save time is you can see here while I'm doing the mouth, his teeth. Some people might do an individual white box for each tooth, which is fine. Sometimes you might need to fine tune it exactly such to match the logo. But this one you can just go ahead and almost do a white box and just add kind of blue lines to make each individual tooth. It saves you a little bit of time. Now this bottom neck part is really tough because when you go and make something towards the end, what you do is you kind of say like, alright, how's it fit with the rest of what I have here? So you can see in this speed run I readjust this kind of like neck flap thing that comes in with Teddy a bunch of times. So first I'll do the lettering. A lot of times what I'll do is, unless the logo is completely different from the shapes that are in the logo tool, so if like the cursive is much different from the default one that San Diego Studios gives you in the logo editor, usually what I do is I just take the existing cursive and just add a few shapes to it, resize it. So one of the techniques I'll use is, well, you saw it earlier with the cap brim, I'll group stuff together, kind of copy paste it, make it a different color. With the lettering, what I do is I do the original, like, you know, the inside logo, and then I copy paste that, just add a few outlines that I move in every which direction to kind of like fill it out, and then I go back and just kind of fill in the pieces that look kind of shoddy or, you know, just a little bit unfinished. And with this one it's simple because there aren't a bunch of cursive letters that I have to do together, it's just a few R's. So once I make the first one I can just copy it onto the next one. If you mess up at any point too with the logo, it's fine to go back. So you can kind of see here what I'm doing is, like I said, that neckline thing isn't quite exactly what I want it to be, so I'm moving stuff around. I mentioned earlier that the chin is a bit too big, so I went back and fixed that. And then sometimes it takes a few other shapes to readjust, so there's a little like monocle thing that, you know, the little wires coming out of, I had to resize that and everything. This can be tricky if you use grouping as much as I do, so whenever I do a chunk like his hat or the glasses or something, I might put it into a group. If I have to readjust it later, sometimes it might involve me ungrouping the shape or the layer that I just made, so be wary of that if you are making logos here in the future. This logo took me 28 minutes, and the last 3 or 4 of it was just fine-tuning everything here. Again, you can kind of see me reshaping the chin, the letters, the neckline, and there's a few more things that I could have done if the logo editor was a bit better. Like the only star shape they have is the actual star. There's no like rounded star shapes like the exact logo has, the actual one. But I could have spent more time with the coloring as well, so what I do is I typically just take colors from major league teams that are already preset and try and use those to the best of my ability, since sometimes the color blender, if you use like the actual gradient thing to pick a color, sometimes it can be hard to go back and match the exact color that you have. Sometimes it saves colors that you've just previously used for like a preset, but not all the time, so that's why I enjoy using the MLB presets just in case, and then I can always go back later. So just to conclude, it's different for everybody like I said, but what I do is I kind of brainstorm what shapes and stuff I'm going to start with first. Usually I start with the one that takes up the majority of the screen, so the hat is pretty simple. You just have to do a few outlines, a few colors, and it takes up the majority of the logo. So I start with that first, do the hat, break the hat into a few different chunks, and then from there kind of move on down, do the face, facial features, whichever one seems the easiest at the time. But that's about it. You just take basic shapes, different curves and squares and stuff, try and envision in your mind what that logo would look like if, so for the hat for example, what would the bottom of the hat look like if Teddy's face wasn't there, and then you go back in later and add his face. If you have any other questions on the speedruns or any other comments, any other recommendations for what I should do going into the future for other speedruns or logo tip videos, feel free to let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for the support that you've shown me on Reddit. This logo had an overwhelming amount of support to it, so I really do appreciate that. And as always, you're free to make a logo request for me. Just send me a message on Reddit or Twitter. For the time being, I'm taking a bit of a hiatus since I have nearly 200 requests, but I'm always happy to do as many as I can. So thank you, and stay tuned for the next video.